the Masters, but I'm also going to give you a wee introduction to the to GCU as well, and where we're situated in Glasgow Caledonian University, so it seems hopefully makes sense. So those of you who've been looking at our university should know maybe that we've got 3 schools. So there's the School of Computing, Engineering and Built Environment, the School of Health and Life Sciences, but we're in Glasgow School for Business and Society. And this is a picture of our lovely building behind this screen. So within that, within the School for Business and Society, we've got loads of really vibrant, exciting different undergraduate degrees and master's degrees. But our master's is situated in, as I said, the Department of Social Sciences. And the master's hasn't been running for that long. It's a few years. So I'm going to talk a wee bit about how we're doing in the rankings and how our teaching is ranked, so you know where we're situated and things. So we're one of the main courses within the business school, one of the most popular and one of the most well attended in the BA Social Sciences. And within the social sciences, we developed this incredible master's, which was designed and delivered by experts in their field. So initially designed and delivered by Professor Angela O'Hagan, who I will talk about in a wee minute. And now it's being carefully shaped and developed by Dr Ros Parr, who's the new programme leader. And it's contributed to by the entire department. And I'll talk a wee bit about how it's research led later on. But we developed this programme based on the demand from students, from the market research, saying that this is what people were looking for, is this, this look into human rights and how human rights might be applied in policy and practice. And it's run very successfully for a number of years now. We've recruited well beyond our wildest expectations, and it's been going really well, to the point that we're now going to develop a new master's as well, but that one's not quite ready for me to talk about yet. So our undergraduate course, which is also run by the Department of Social Sciences, is one of the most popular of its kind. In fact, we're ranked 3rd in Scotland behind 2 of our major universities, Glasgow and Edinburgh. But we are first in modern universities for social sciences, and it's that team that's delivering this human rights course. In 2024, GCU was ranked 13th out of 96 for the social sciences in the whole of the UK, and actually we're ranked in the top 400 for social sciences in the world, which is a marvellous achievement and one that we're very proud of. So what would the masters look like for you? Sorry, I've not moved on the slide on this thingy. I'm working between 2 slides just now. So this is what the programme structure and the wards look like. So if you were going to take the 1-year Masters in Human Rights, you'd be expected to undertake 8 modules, plus a Masters Research Project, or a 2-year Masters in Human Rights with Professional Practice. And that's 8 modules, a Masters Research Project, but you would also undertake 200 hours professional placement, which is student-led. So for this, students must have an average grade of 60% across 120 credits to be able to proceed to second year. So you just have to get over 60% for your first year to ensure that you can move into the second year as well. And it's important to note that for those of you who are thinking about doing professional practice. Now I'm just going to show you, now I'm going to go into a wee bit more detail about what each module does, but what we've got in the human rights module at this time is just core modules, and each year's worth 15 credits, apart from your Masters Research Project, which is 45 credits, or if you're doing the professional practice, that's worth 60 credits. So you would do 4 modules in your Tri A, 4 modules in the Tri B, and then you've got the Masters Research Project in C with the Developing Leadership for the Common Good as well. And that's just making sure that we're sort of readying people for taking on leadership roles after studying with us. So I'll look a wee bit more closely at these. Now these are core modules, so you have to take these, but we are sort of starting to talk about maybe introducing some optional modules as well for those of you who'd like a more flexible learning experience. Okay, so just going to give you a small insight into what each of these modules do. So the first one is realising rights in practice. And the purpose of this module is to critically examine policy framing, policy problems and knowledge construction, but do so in the parameters of realising human rights. And our students come from all over the world, and very often realising human rights in practice can mean very different, it can look very different in different places. But the policy framework of how that works within different countries and different governmental systems, it's trying to understand that better and how we might actually do this in practice. The second is transformative social sciences. So this critically explores the possibilities of research-led social sciences to transform the world for the common good. And most of you might know then that the Glasgow Caledonian University is the University for the Common Good. And we take that mission statement very seriously. And so this is embedded in this module. And here we seek to better understand how theory can frame practical transformative social action. So while we look at the theory, it's designed to inform the practice as well. We then have a module on poverty, rights and citizenship, which examines the relationship between human rights and poverty, and it evaluates measures for addressing poverty and underpinning human rights. So building the tools for how we might explore solutions or problem solving. The next is ethics, sustainability and governance, and this is delivered at a more sort of school level. And this explores ethical governance and responsible leadership in the private, public and social enterprise sectors in UK and more globally. Now, many of our students go on to work in private, public or social enterprise sectors, so it's important to explore all of those leadership positions and how that might be done ethically and responsibly. So this equips students to drive responsible decision making, which is really the goal, isn't it, to make things better. Okay, so the next modules, we've got public policy analysis, and this applies key theoretical and conceptual literature to engage in real-time policy analysis. So it basically teaches people the skills to analyse policy, to scrutinise, to improve, to shape, to make things better. Sorry, I'll turn my emails off there. The next is social movements and activism for change. And this explores social movements for the realisation of human rights. And those of you who are interested in this course might know a lot about the history of social movements and how human rights has progressed through those social movements. So it's really important to look at that in terms of the history, the practice, the policy. So topics related to this field are gender equality, climate change, environmental justice, racism development, access, racism and development, not racism development, access to water, amongst many other things. The next module is Politics and Practice of Global Justice, and this examines current global challenges in human rights and inequalities. And so this will talk about many of the sort of the wicked issues that are really posing difficulties for governments and international governments just now, such as human trafficking, human security, climate justice, gender justice, migration, and gender-based violence. And much of these last three modules that I've been talking about are led by experts in those fields as well. So we're getting real-time research as part of the module as well. In the postgraduate research methods, now this is a chance for students to develop their own research project proposal in preparation for their master's research project, and explores key theoretical methodological issues, research approaches, communication skills and ethics, so that you're well prepped for carrying out your own individual piece of research, which is often what students are most excited about doing. Okay, and on to the last, which is usually the Tri-C that you would be studying this, but obviously if you're entering in later in the year in the Tri-B, which runs from January to April, then you would be doing this at a slightly later date. So this is an independent in-depth research project, a dissertation, which is 12,000 words, but you would be working very closely with a supervisor as well. But you would also be undertaking developing leadership for the common good. And this is a practical module exploring leadership theories and techniques as well. So that's what the Masters looks like. But we want to tell you a wee bit more about why it looks like this, how we assess that, the learning outcomes, and so forth. So bear with me as I change the slide again. Okay, now we very deliberately made sure that the assessments, that we diversify the assessment methods to make sure that we capture different skill sets, that we develop different skill sets with our students, and ones that are applicable in employability and in industry. So the assessment strategy allows for the exploration of ideas. for the in-depth critical analysis, reflection on practice, and consideration of alternatives. What we're encouraging students to do is to look outside the box and do apply sort of realistic skills to how these different innovative solutions might be met. And we do this by asking you to do a mix of assessment methods, and these can include case studies, policy reviews, embedding research, presentations, and we also encourage you to use develop your use of IT for communication and engagement. Now, we work very closely with industry and employers to talk about the sort of assessment methods that we could use that they would like to see our graduates having, and this is what the feedback we got. And doing so builds skills in conceptual thinking and argument and assimilation of complex material. So also we sometimes use formal essays and exams. That's important for recall, it's important for being able to structure, to write, to communicate effectively, and we find that our students do this very well. And this supports the development of knowledge and skills relevant to the potential employment destinations and future research direction. So where our graduates tend to go and the employees that we talk to, this is the sort of the skill base that they're looking for. So this is what it looks like, an overview if you arrived in, if you entered our Masters in Tri-A, in Trimester A, which runs from September to December. You would be starting with these 4 modules, what I've already talked about: ethics, sustainability and governance, transformative social science, realising rights and practice, and poverty, rights and citizenship. And you can see there's a real difference in the sort of things that you're being asked to do. So there's seminar participation as well as an essay, there's case studies, and there's policy reviews, all really applicable skills in the real world. And later on in Trimester B, you would be having research reports, research proposals, case study outline, action research, embedded case studies, and for public policy analysis, there's an unseen exam. And developing presentations and projects and placement portfolios if you're a professional practice. So loads of skills that you're being asked to develop and that you're being assessed and getting feedback on as well, which is really important. So you'll see that some of our the way that we assess you, some is formative and some is summative as well, so that we're developing those skills and checking in to make sure that you are ready for them. So just to talk about the Common Good curriculum, as I've already mentioned, this is the mission of the university, and one of which the Social Sciences Department takes really seriously. We do a lot of outreach work, we do a lot of ensuring that people are thinking about bigger pictures, about social policy, about social issues, but also making sure that that's all practically applicable in the real world. So it represents a distinctive approach to learning and teaching that develops graduates capable of tackling real-world issues and translating problem-solving ideas into action. So it's not just about the ideas, it's also about the action. And it develops attributes needed to make a positive difference and address societal challenges at a local, national or global scale. And this is why our Masters works so effectively as well. We have people from all over the world coming into a classroom and discussing societal issues equally faced by many, but in very different contexts. And that really helps us develop different ideas and solutions. So for the programme learning and teaching, this builds student knowledge and the application of that knowledge through discussion, investigation and collaboration. So as I said, there's loads of work we do in the seminars. We have workshops, we have seminars, we have guest speakers coming in to think about how we can deliberate to improve. And we really help students to think their way and talk their way through these solutions. So there's a real emphasis on critical engagement with theoretical and conceptual frameworks to open our minds to different possibilities. But alongside that, exploring lived experiences and norms that shape institutional responses. So your own lives, your own perspectives, your own experiences, all will help to shape your experience within this Masters as well. Now, I've already sort of mentioned this, but I think it's a really important point. You will, in this Masters, be taught by research leaders. So 74% of our research puts from the social sciences, and we're sort of judged in social work and social policy, are rated as world leading or internationally excellent. Now, this comes from the Research Excellence Framework in 2021, and the Research Excellence Framework, or REF as we call it, only gets done every 4 or 5 years. So we've not got the most recent output. That's been delayed a couple of years. So 74%, it's a really, really commendable research outputs from from the people that will be teaching you. So just to mention a few, we have Professor Stephen Sinclair is the chair of the Poverty and Inequality Commission here in Scotland, but he also teaches the poverty module on our masters. Professor John McKendrick is the Commissioner for Fair Access. He's another one of our teachers. He and Stephen also run the Scottish Poverty and Inequality Research Unit, which enables students to also take part in live action research, and also there's opportunities for placement there as well. We have Professor Angela O'Hagan, who I've already mentioned, sadly left us last year after her appointment by the King to the chair of the Scottish Human Rights Commission, but she designed the course and she still comes in to give us master classes. So that's only just a few people that teach. The rest of our teaching body are all active in research, are all publishing, and are all excellent teachers. As I've already talked about our sort of teaching accolades, it's very rare that we get rated under 90% for our teaching qualifications. So we're all very proud of those statistics. But it's not just about us and what we teach you, it's also about the support and learning environment that we put together in Glasgow Caledonian University, especially for those of you who are maybe travelling internationally to be part of our masters, but maybe those of you who are returning to education or juggling education, higher education with a job as well. So knowing that you are fully supported, it's not just that you're coming here to learn, that actually we've got a support system, a very carefully collated support system for you as well. So we do have support for our learning programme. We have a learning development centre, which you are able to use drop-in sessions. They come in to our programme, our teaching, to support your assessment writing, your skill development. We also have the Sir Alex Ferguson Library, which is sort of 4 floors of quiet and chatty rooms and loads of resources, both online and in the library. And we have wonderful library assistants and technicians that come in to our modules, help you to search things better, help you to find the right resources that you need. Now, what we do have that not necessarily many universities have is a really well documented archive centre. And as part of your journey and our masters is working with the archival staff and also having events down there as well. So they're a big part of our masters and what we offer as well. We have a wellbeing service, we have a disability service, counselling service, mental health advisor and wellbeing advisor. Now, for those of you who know that you maybe need that extra support, that can be reassuring, but many of us don't feel, oh, well, I'll not need any help. But just to know that those services are there, and you can be signposted to those services from your personal tutor, because everybody will be given a personal tutor when they arrive, which is a member of staff that will check in with them, and they can check in with their personal tutor at any time. There's also a health and fitness centre, and if you're one of our students, you get a free membership to our gym, which is just a new policy that's just been brought in that we're really proud of and really pleased. So you would have access to the gym that is based on our campus, which obviously is in the centre of Glasgow, and right in the hub of the action and all the excitement of being in Glasgow. There's also a mentoring and peer support programme for students that are coming internationally, but also at-home students as well, to make sure that you're talking to people that maybe have been through very sort of similar journeys to yourself to coming to master's study. There's a students association that you can be involved in. You can become a student rep, you can be a departmental rep, and you can work closely with the students association to make sure that all that you've been promised is being met, and that basically making sure that your time with us is as exciting and has as many opportunities as you would like it to be. And there's a volunteering programme, so you can get involved with our department and other departments and people studying other things. And there's also a very wonderful career service will help you through your applications, will help you through job interviews. So lots and lots of things to entice you to come to GCU. So just to make sure that you know that what we're offering in human rights as well is not just, it sort of goes beyond all this support and learning environment. And a support and learning environment is not just about the services that are available to you, but also what we offer on human rights. What do we give you that's more than just a teaching experience? And we think this is really important for our students. So we do some extracurricular activities with our students. So one of the ones that we did last year was an International Women's Day, where we welcome, and we're doing it again this year. It's just not, it's in March, so it's not fallen yet. And so what we're doing is we're welcoming our female students in to give presentations, to talk about issues close to their heart, research projects that they've been involved in, and present to the wider community. And so we really encourage a lot of student-led projects and opportunities. So this is just one example of that. We also have the International Human Rights Day. We do an event for that as well. We're doing an extracurricular evening event for our students as well, to make sure that they get time to socialise with each other as well. You're not just coming in to study, but you're actually coming in to make friends and networks. And the other thing that we're going to explore, if I'm not sure that I've got this in picture, the other thing, we've given our students opportunities to attend conferences and seminars with a wee bit of departmental funding to help support their applications, so that they can get their research out there. The important work that they're doing helps you to set you up for employability in the future. So one of our students last year, Beatrice, went down to London and presented at an international conference, and that was supported by our department. The other thing we do is we make sure that we have external stakeholders. We have employers, we have people coming in and working with our students as well. So this, the slide that you're seeing just now, is just an example of one of the master classes that we had last year, and that was with the Scottish Policy and Research Exchange. And what they did is they did an interactive workshop with our students to talk them through how they might develop their own research projects into policy practice, how you would get people involved, how you would contact the right people, and the differences that makes to local communities. And I'm going to show you an example of this in what one of our students has gone on to do in practice, and how this helped them to get there. So again, this is just one of the many examples of masterclasses, and we've got different masterclasses on this year. We've got one with Angela from the Human Rights Commission, and we have another one with an expert in genocide and history, which is as cheerful as it sounds, I imagine, but using our archival system as well is a really important and interesting exercise for our students. So you'll be interested about our positive outcomes. And one of the most important things is, you know, does this make a difference? Am I going to get a job am I going to get the job at the end of this? Now, the problem with our the Human Rights Masters is that it's not been running for very long. So some of our students that are now in employment, we've not managed to get hold of them for me to use examples just now, but we are just in the beginning of this human rights. So what our students tend to go into are non-governmental organisations, international organisations, government, civil service and research. And so you will find that there's alumni on our LinkedIn that you can maybe connect with, talk about their experiences with how they found the human rights and how that helped them to find their feet. But we are trying to collate that information for you just now. But I do have one example of what one of our students is doing. Now, this is a wee bit wordy, so allow me to talk you through this. So Petra that we had in last year, she graduated in 2024, and off the back of that Masters and, you know, the work that she did with SPRI, which is Scottish Poverty and Research Exchange that I just introduced there, she started to develop workshops for food banks. So she posted about it on LinkedIn, and we were keen to get her back to talk to future students or current students about what it is she's doing. So she says here, since completing my Masters in Human Rights, I've had the opportunity to put my knowledge into action by designing and facilitating workshops for the North Ayrshire Food Bank, which is in Scotland. One of the most valuable parts of my degree was learning how to apply human rights principles in everyday situations. I've done this in my workshop by helping individuals understand their rights and empowering them to advocate for themselves and each other. This work has reinforced the importance of translating academic learning into practical action, ensuring that human rights principles are not just theoretical but actively shape communities. The education and support I received during my degree were invaluable in equipping me to create these opportunities for change, and I look forward to seeing the other ways the Masters in Human Rights will empower communities. So a really great testimonial from Petra, and we're really delighted to hear back from many of our students who we're still in contact with. My own student that I mentioned, Beatrice, that was in London last year, is currently going through her PhD application, and we have very high hopes that she will be given full funding for that through the ESRC. So just a summary to finish off with. I'll not keep talking for those of you who want to ask questions. So it's a 1 and 2 year cross-disciplinary programme. There's 8 content modules plus a master's research project and leadership skills module. But for those of you who are doing professional practice, this placement for a 2 year, there's a 2 year programme. So this reflects the common good curriculum. It's taught by leading researchers in the field. We build student knowledge and skills for employability or for further research. And we support students to take the lead and take part in extracurricular events. And we're keen to connect students with external contacts in industry, research and governance. Okay, so that's the end of my presentation, and I've got Katie here with me as well behind the scenes, and we'd be really keen to answer any questions that you might have. And I just want you to thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you so much, Ruth. That was great. It was really interesting to hear all the ins and outs of the course and the extracurricular activities as well for students. Now, I know we have a few attendees here live, and there haven't been any questions submitted yet, but we do have a few minutes if anyone would like to ask questions. Either Ruth or myself can help. I know it can be a bit daunting sometimes to post in the chat, so also if you aren't comfortable asking, or if you think of a question after we've finished the session today, you can send those at any time to our inquiries team. Just reply to the invite and the details are all in there, and we will get back to you as soon as we can and help clear anything up. So the support doesn't end today. We're here for you at any time. So don't worry if something comes to you after the session.
Mm-hmm. And there's no silly questions. I think everyone always thinks that, you know, a very simple question is silly, but actually it's probably what everyone's thinking, and maybe something I've missed out from the presentation that you were wondering, or something about a specific module, anything at all. We're happy to help.
Okay, well, Ruth, I guess if no one's got any questions at the moment, we could maybe end the webinar here, and then myself and the student support team will look out for any questions that are submitted by email, and we can get back to any of our attendees as quickly as possible.
Absolutely.
But I thank you from myself and from everyone who attended for the presentation. It was really great.
Brilliant. Thanks for logging on, everyone.